All right, guys. So our next topic here keeps us in the whole, Tom Holland Spider-Verse or multiverse kind of potential here, but in a little bit different of a capacity. As I mentioned before, it's more in line with the whole Venom potentially being connected to the Tom Holland stuff. So not the Spider-Verse movie, but the whole Sony M Marvel Spider-Verse thing that they're doing in live action. I don't even know what you wanna call it. They were calling it Spunk before, the Spider-Man universe of Marvel characters. It's stupid ass name. But either way, most recently here, this is in reference to the Morbius movie, which when that trailer came out, Rick, it was kind of confusing in and of itself because the trailer plays out, and then all of a sudden he's walking down the alley, and there's a mural of Spider-Man painted on the wall.
Like Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Well, it was the video game Spider-Man, which
Oh.
was even more weird in all honesty. But
Mm.
either way, it was like the classic suit rendition of like the video game Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it was just on the wall painted there. So obviously indicates that Spider-Man exists in some capacity in the Morbius movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But which was interesting because there was no reference to Spider-Man in the Venom movie, which you thought would that be the most logical place to throw Spider-Man into, or at
But
least
will
to
there be in
mention.
Venom 2?
We don't know yet. But to top that off with the Morbius trailer, which that movie we should have already seen by now, speaking of which. But at the very end of it, to add more confusion to the mix, all of a sudden, Michael Keaton shows up in the same outfit that he was wearing in prison at the end of Spider-Man: Homecoming in the Morbius trailer, so pretty much indicating that Vulture from the MCU is showing up in the Morbius movie in
Right.
some capacity. So, but we still haven't, that technically speaking, got any confirmation as to whether or not this movie does take place in the MCU. But maybe we did now because recently here, Tyrese Gibson, who's, in the Fast and Furious movies and everything like that, but he's been in a lot of other stuff too, but he's actually in the Morbius movie. I think he's playing like a police officer of some kind, if I'm not mistaken. I might be thinking of another movie he was in. But he's in there. I think he's playing a detective or a cop or something in the Morbius movie, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's not important. But either way, he's in the movie, and he was doing an interview with somebody about like Fast 9. I think it was for about Fast 9, but he ends up being asked if if the Morbius movie is a part of the MCU. And he just straight up says yes. Now, the important thing here to mention is that I don't necessarily know, and none of us do. I don't think this was actually like a televised, like a recorded interview, so it's hard to know what like the cadence was of like how they were speaking, how the question was asked, and how he actually responded. Because just reading that he said yes, we don't know what kind of led to him saying like what was the preface that they all set
Well,
up. It's
we talked about it off camera. I mean, it's something as simple as just like to him, it might just be like, yeah, it's a Marvel movie.
yeah, exactly,
It's in the MCU. It's a Marvel
exactly.
movie, even though it's like not technically.
Yeah, because then he goes on because just to clarify too, this is the thing that makes it kinda iffy, 'cause the guy goes on to say that, to be sure, they went ahead and clarified, "Are the Avengers a part of this world?" He said, "Yes."
Simply. Yeah.
He just said, "Yes." So it's like both times he just said, "Yes." And again, it's hard to know because we don't know the cadence of anybody's speech here. We don't know what prefaced it, but,
Yeah.
like, to Rick's point, what we were kinda talking about off camera about this was, like, someone like Tyrese Gibson or any other actor out there really, for most people, they're not sitting around speculating, watching shows like this show that we do. They're not
Be cool if they
tied.
did.
It would be cool if they did. Some people do. Some people are a little bit more tied into it. I'm not saying it's like none of them are, but like in most cases, actors are there to do a job, and they're not necessarily big fans. They're not wrapped up in the fandom of it all.
No.
They're just doing their job. So because this is a good example too. Like even on the Loki show, for instance, we learned that like Owen Wilson and pretty much even the showrunners on the Loki show, they weren't all caught up to speed on like everything that happened in the MCU. So like Tom Hiddleston himself literally set up and did like a Loki class for everybody. And like it was I think it was like 3 hours long through like multiple days of Tom Hiddleston teaching everybody there about Loki in the MCU.
Yeah.
And these are people who were, again, they're hired to write the show, and then they're actors who were hired to be in the show, and they have no idea. They don't know.
No,
They're
so
not
you gotta
plugged
have Tom
into it.
Hiddleston personally showing them.
Yeah, so, like, Tom Hiddleston, he knows more than anyone. He's been in all
He's
of them.
rookie.
Yeah, he's been in all of them. So, unless you're someone like that who's been in them forever, you don't know what's going on, unless you're a huge fan like we are, but most of the time, that's not the case. You know what I mean? So, what I think probably happened here, this is pure speculation, but I think he was just asked as someone who is not plugged into the MCU or the Marvel verse. If you asked him he wouldn't know what the DCEU is versus like the DC world or the Chris Nolan stuff. And I mean,
Right.
he probably doesn't know all that. So he was probably just generally asked, is this in the MCU? And he's just thinking like, yeah, it's a Marvel movie. Like, of course it is.
Exactly.
And then even when they go on to clarify, so are the Avengers a part of this world? He just says yes, as because he knows that the Avengers are a Marvel property. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Not so much that, yeah, this is totally in the MCU. And because if they really wanted to clarify this to make me 100% believe that this is 100% true, they should have said, so to clarify, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Chris Evans' as Captain America exist in this same world as Morbius.
Right.
That's what you need to say. If they would have clarified with
Make it
that,
a little more specific.
yeah, that would have been a lot more eyebrow raising information. You know what I mean? Now, granted, it's still possible that all this is 100% true because, like I said, Michael Keaton's Vulture was in the Morbius trailer.
Yeah.
So he might know exactly what the F's up. And he might have just said, yeah, because it's true. You know what I mean? Like, it might just be legit. So, I'm kind of on the fence about it. There was another, Sony's apparently came out and, denied this as well and, corrected his statements. So, who knows? Obviously, Sony would want to be doing that to protect their IP. There's really no way of knowing, who's right and who's wrong here. We won't know until the Morbius movie comes out or No Way Home comes out, so we have a little bit more clarification of what the hell's going on.
Right.
All we know is that he was in an interview, and like I said, it's a very easy, I'm not even gonna say it's a mistake by Tyrese for him to say yes, because if he's just answering an honest question, he doesn't know. So, they asked him, if it's a Marvel movie, and he's just like, "Yeah,
Sure.
duh."
Yeah.
I know, because he knows it's a Marvel movie, like I said.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it just is what it is. So I think that it's a 50-50 shot in my opinion. It's not it doesn't make me lean one way or the other. I honestly think still the inclusion of Michael Keaton's Vulture in the initial Morbius trailer is more of an inclination than what he's saying, just because, like I said, he doesn't know. I'm not gonna expect him to know. I'm not gonna expect him to sit here and be as invested in this shit as we are. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Right.
think he
Right.
was just talking off the cuff. I
Just
don't
like,
know.
yeah, sure, Marvel.
Yeah, I don't, not to say that he's stupid and doesn't understand
No,
the question.
but
Nothing like that. Just, you gotta think too. Anytime these actors do these press events like this, they sit here in our room. This is an all day thing for them. They sit there and they have 30 seconds to talk to all these different reporters. They all generally ask the same kind of questions, and so it's just, as you saw, even what the reporter of this article stated, he just answered with yes.
right.
Just
Just
a
a
very
single word
yeah,
reply.
just yeah, yep,
Like a pissed off girlfriend or
yeah,
something
exactly.
texting you, just like, yes.
Exactly, which is again too, it's hard to read even too much into it anyway, because like I said, we don't know the cadence of how this happened.
Right.
We don't know how he was being asked, what kind of response he had, because if we heard it and saw his reaction, maybe we'd clearly be able to see that he was being sarcastic or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know what I mean? So I wouldn't, in the end, I wouldn't read too much into these comments with on either aspect
I'd
of
take
it
it with a
at
grain of
all.
salt. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely take it with a grain of salt. And the fact that Sony came out and corrected his statements and denied what he was saying doesn't really make me lean any other way either. They could be 100% truthful about doing that, but actually meaning no, it's literally not a part of the MCU, as opposed to them just coming out and saying it just to protect the IP and protect the secrets and it is a part. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a toss up again. I think Michael Keaton showing up in the trailer is more of an indication in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say over
So
what Tyrese said.
yeah, I don't know. So that's kind of where I stand on it. So question is, so guys, did you see these comments, and what do you think about this? Do you think that Tyrese, like, 100% knew what was going on and was being 100% truthful and, like, to his knowledge, it is in the MCU, and, like, it is 100% in the MCU. Again, I still think it is regardless of these comments because of Michael Keaton. So, like, I didn't need Tyrese to come out and say it. I genuinely do not think that this it doesn't lean me one way or the other. I still feel the same as I did beforehand. So, but let us know what you think down in the comment section below.